Vice President Michael Ashwin Adhin of Suriname. Welcome. You're meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi very shortly, within a week, and you yourself are speaking at the United Nations General Assembly. What is your meeting with Modi going to be about?
Well, we have an agenda that we are being finalized now. I have to look at the agenda myself. So there are a lot of points that we can talk about. Of course, the Caribbean region has strengthened its ties with India, especially Suriname. You know, we have a good population of Indian descent in Suriname diaspora, about 30%. So I've been many times to India, of course, and we have deepened the relation, also the economic relations, apart from the culture that we did for years. So we guess there will be an agenda. I'm also waiting that we are focusing on this mission in India, and when I go back, I think in 1-2 days, then I'll have the concrete agenda what we'll be talking about.
The important point out of India, of course, for the world is the abrogation of Article 370 and Jammu and Kashmir for the world. How does South America see this? How does Suriname see this?
Because Suriname has a very unique stance in South America itself. In our constitution, it's written that we always go for non-interference, non-intervention, and dialogue. We always give every country its own space when it comes to internal affairs. We always say, and Suriname has most of the time been asked for good services and mediator in issues if it concerns the Caribbean and the South American region. Our president has been asked many times as to good services and mediators if there is any conflict. We know Venezuela's situation, Nicaragua's Venezuela, and Suriname has been asked and have many platforms to do that. So our position is also very unique and exemplary, and in the sense that we always give every country their internal affairs. And by saying that, you know, my stance will always be the same. We give all the room for India to decide on their own, and the countries that are involved is on their own to decide. Suriname will not interfere in those kinds of issues and respects every decision that these countries for themselves makes. Of course, we will listen to the conversation and we'll listen to the arguments if this point will come up. Like I said, we always go for dialogue. Non-interference meaning that we don't interfere and we don't promote
internal affairs.
And we don't promote other countries to interfere or intervention. No intervention itself. So if it is according to Indian stance, any sense of what they think this is correct, then it is India's point to raise that point, and we respect that.
And of course, it's not just Suriname. There are lots of Indians in South America, in British Guyana, what was British Guyana, and of course the Caribbean islands, Trinidad, Tobago. How does Jammu and Kashmir look to the Indian community there?
I think the Indian community has been our descendants is the fourth, fifth generation. So the most of the Indians that came to that region were from Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. So no very close link with Kashmir or Jammu. So that historically also they would not be very informed about the situation there, and consequently would not have an informed stance on that in the first sense. So they have to be informed, they have to know exactly what the situation is to be able to say anything that or anything of serious consequence. But we'll listen, and it will be a very interesting UN meeting. A lot of points, a lot of meetings before the address. So I have to be briefed, and I will be briefed. I think the day after tomorrow, and we look forward to meeting with Modi ji, of course, for any issue. If it be Caribbean, our own relation with Suriname, and any issue, and like I said, we respect every stance that the country needs, especially when it concerns their internal affairs.
And you're going to speak in the UNG as well on the 26th.
That's right. So Suriname has a few interesting points to put forward, and we have been in a transition. We're in a nation-building phase after the independence. You know that. Good struggle has always been there to get all the communities together. There are some big issues playing, and we want to resolve that issue, but make it also a very good point. And you see, there are always international platforms, and in which Suriname can put its issues forward, but also try to put Suriname in a position in which Suriname has to move on policies, and we have our discussions about that, be it land issues, be it these are discussion points that we will put forward, and we always will be exemplary to show that any unilaterally, multilaterally, bilaterally is open for any communication, any policy issue. But let us respect each other in the sense that, like the UN also says, and we adopted that in our constitution, non-interference, non-intervention and dialogue. And we have been open for dialogue ever since, but we see that sometimes other platforms or other countries deviate from that stance. Suriname will always hold that stance.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.